Everything inspired by the teachings of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, the founder of the Charter of the International Society of Krishna Consciousness. Om Vajivanti Miranda Syagya Namaha Salakya Chaksurum Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhisam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Sayam Rupa Karamyam Dhalati Swapadatikam. So this is when we chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. The Rama can refer to two different personalities. The one is Rama on your right-hand side of the altar with the bow, and he's flanked by Sita, Lakshman, and at his feet is Hanuman, the great monkey warrior. Now there's another Rama who is called Balarama, and he appears when Krishna appears. There's three points in our philosophy, and these might be, if you're coming from a Judeo-Christian background, these might appear to be the most far-out, unbelievable, exotic elements of our philosophy. I want to approach them from a different direction, and you actually think it through, that God is all-powerful. Rather than these being fantastical, difficult to believe, amazing, they're more like, from our point of view, duh. 2,000 years and you still haven't got it. So the first point is that if you believe that God's Son came 2,000 years ago on a mission of mercy to canvass and try to bring people back home, back to Godhead, then a duh would be that God Himself comes from time to time. A rich man, his son is off taking drugs in Berkeley, California or something, living on the streets. He may send a servant or secretary, but then if that's not successful, or maybe just being full of anxiety and wanting to do it personally, he may show up himself. So that's the first dog. And if you believe that the Son of God appeared 2,000 years ago in the Middle East for the purpose of reclaiming the fallen souls, then it is that God Himself appeared 5,300 years ago, and He appeared in a much more spiritual environment, India. When I was a young person in the 60s, I was interested in yoga, self-realization, and go to India, and that's what I did. I went to India overland in those days, because that's the home of yoga, self-realization, and extreme spirituality, extreme divinity. First thing. The second thing is, if you look at God, who is the darkish figure playing the flute on the altar, you'll notice a couple of things. First is the color. The Sanskrit word to describe the bodily hue of the Lord is sham, color of a monsoon cloud during the rainy season. It's considered the most attractive color, and He assumes it of His own sweet will. There's nothing that caused Him to take on that color, because He's the cause of all causes, so He's blue because He's blue. Now, another thing that becomes immediately apparent, which may seem like fantastic, well, that's not God. Well, it is God, because if you had thought it through for 30 seconds, in 15 seconds, I'll let you prove to yourself in 15 seconds that God would never be old. You can join me if you want in this little 15-second exercise. If you believe in God, even hypothetically, then raise your hand if God would be eternal. Go ahead. Now, keep your hand up if God being eternal means He would never die. Okay, we're all there. Now keep your hand up, and we're still under 15 seconds, I think. Keep your hand up if God being eternal, and being eternally never died. Keep your hand up if it naturally follows it. He would never grow old. So you don't need to think of God as an old guy ever again. And it only took 15 seconds. But for some reason, the entire of Judeo-Christianity hasn't thought it through. And so the default image of God is the old guy on the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel with gray hair and wrinkles, and he's being held up by these hardworking little cherubs. That's a dub for us. If there was a power that could make God grow old, that would be God, because that would be more powerful than God. God is the most powerful, then He's not going to grow old. He doesn't want to grow old, so who's going to force God to grow old? That's the second thing. Now the third thing is that when God appears, as He did 5,300 years ago, He had an older brother. And we're really, all those things that normally you'd say about this, the Hare Krishnas, God would come Himself, God would be young, and God would have an older brother. And I'll show you that's how that's also a duh. If you're God, think about it. What's the first thing that you're going to do? What's the first prerogative you're going to take? What's the first perk you're going to cash in on? Not being God. That's the first thing you're going to take advantage of, because when we think of God, or a big part of the job description is managing, creating millions and millions of universes. The technology by which millions of universes are created is that there's millions of Vishnus, the four-armed Vishnus, who come from Balarama, we'll get to that in a moment. And from Vishnu, the Brahma, the creator of each universe, comes. And from Vishnu, Shiva, the destroyer. So in Vishnu, you have the creator, the maintainer, and the destroyer, which are the three. And then all the demigods in charge of rain and crops, and each and every planet has its own controller and so on. So 33 million demigods in each universe to take care of all the basic elements, earth, air, fire, water, and so on and so forth. So that all comes from Vishnu, which is for the purpose of relieving God of duties. And you'd be crazy if you were God and you had to get up for work and go on the traffic and check in and punch your time clock. If you're God, the first thing you do is there's nothing you have to do. Is that a duh also? So we've got three duhs, which some brother, to be honest with you, Judeo-Christianity hasn't come up to that point yet. This is not an us versus you. We're trying to give knowledge to enrich one's own experience, whether one be a Muslim or a Catholic or a Christian or a Mormon or a Jew, or even as I'm speaking, I'm also listening, and this is enhancing my own walk with God. So when God appears, as he did 5,000 years ago, he appears with God. In other words, you look at Krishna, many people, they say upon seeing the deity, who is she? He doesn't look like God. First of all, would we anticipate that God's playing flute? Any of you people know anyone that plays a flute? They're probably not very good managers. There may be a few exceptions. I think it's probably generally true to say that flute players and managers don't often mutually overlap. Here is Krishna. He doesn't look like what our preconception of God would be, because our preconception of God is as of a manager. But because he's all powerful, he expands himself into Balaram. Balaram becomes all the Vishnus. And the Vishnus are everything that we would expect God to be. They look strong, they got forearms, they got crowns, they got palaces, they're intimidating, they make you a God-fearing person if you weren't already. And they create through Brahma, they destroy through Shiva, they cause the planets to revolve, they cause the wind to blow, the sun to rise, and they cause death, who is another demigod, to strike everybody with fear and chase everybody. First duh is that God loving us would appear, not just leave it to messengers and his own son. The second is he would never be old. And the third is that he wouldn't be God. In other words, he would relieve himself of having to do anything. He would expand himself into Balaram, and Balaram would become Vishnus, would become Brahmas, would become Shivas, would become demigods. When you see God playing his flute, that basically says it all. One European went to India, spent a few months there, and came back. And he told his friend, when I was in India, I visited the temples, and by visiting the temples, I figured out who was God. Friend said, how did you do that? Well, I went to the Brahma temple in Pushkar, and he was creating. And I went to a couple of Shiva temples. We had the statues there. Shiva's doing his dance of destruction, surrounded by the ring of fire at the time of cosmic dissolution. Lakshmi was dispensing wealth and domestic felicity. And Varuna was taking care of the oceans and the tides. And Surya was taking care of... Every deity I saw had a task appointed to them by some higher authority. And I realized who that higher authority was when I went to the Krishna temple and I saw him playing on his flute. Another crude example. Consider a multinational company. They're getting raw materials from South America and from Africa, bringing it into their factories and they're assembling it, and then they're transporting it, then they're marketing it, they're selling it, they're keeping the accounts, they're promoting it, employ thousands and thousands of people to keep all these things working in sync. But the president of the board of directors, he's neither marketing nor riveting nor selling nor doing accounting. He's out on the golf course. Everything is going on because of his power and his influence. And because of his power and influence, he's not obliged to do anything because there isn't anybody above him. So Krishna is called Iswara Parama. Ishwara is the Sanskrit word which means Lord. And there are many lords. Like I said, there are 33 million demigods in each and every universe. And each and every one of those demigods worships Vishnu, as do all God-fearing people. But Krishna, because he has created Vishnu, and because Vishnu only seeks to please Krishna, therefore is not Vishnu, who is the Iswara Parama, but is Krishna, who is the Iswara Parama. Even though Vishnu is God, according to how we understand God, Krishna is the supreme God because Vishnu does what he does only to please Krishna and to keep Krishna from having to worry about managerial concerns. Prabhupada came to America, our founder, 1965. He had $14. Due to his purity and his potency, his preaching quickly evolved into a worldwide movement. And as soon as we started getting money and income, we Prabhupada started saying, please manage, please manage. I just want to preach and write my books. Management gives me a headache. So to please Prabhupada, we didn't know a clue about running anything. Some of Prabhupada's early disciples were challenged to tie their shoes. We learned how to manage because that was what Prabhupada wanted. We wanted a free Prabhupada to travel, preach, and write his books. So we took it upon ourselves to manage. So this is our third dove. And when God appears, he has an older brother who is actually God, but not God. And this is interesting because Krishna wants to be free for relationships, for love and reciprocity. So therefore, out of his unlimited self, he expands into Vishnu. The expansion, the other, from the one, the other has come. Because that other, he wants to please his source, his original, his younger brother Krishna. So he takes all the burdens of management off of Krishna. Krishna doesn't have to worry about a single detail of management. But because he's also non-different from Krishna, because he is an expansion of Krishna, and in that sense they're one, Krishna doesn't even have to instruct him. He doesn't have to give him orders. Balaram is Krishna, so he knows what needs to be done from a managerial point of view. So he's simultaneously one with, in terms of having all the tools that he needs, and he's also different because he wants to please Krishna and not have Krishna be burdened with the headache of managing things. So 5,300 years ago, to make a long story short, the world was overburdened by the military forces of tyrannic kings. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, I come whenever there's a decline in religiosity and a rise in irreligion. At that time I invent myself. So the demigods, in whose universe there was a huge disturbance due to Kamsa and Jarasandha and Sisipal, they asked Lord Brahma, the creator of the universe, is an incarnation of God, could it come to roll back the demoniac kings and protect the devotees? This is what's predicted in Scripture. And Lord Brahma said, yes, God will come. And not only will there be a Vishnu incarnation, but the original two-armed form of the Lord will come. He'll be preceded by Vishnu, and he'll come through the womb of a pious lady named Devaki, whose husband was Vasudeva. That's a story we'll tell in more detail on Krishna's actual birthday next week. Lord Balaram always precedes Krishna. He's looking out for the comfort, the well-being of Krishna. In another incarnation, Balaram is none other than Ananta Shesha, and Krishna is Narayan. Ananta Shesha, many-coiled, many-hooded serpent, provides a bed for the Lord to recline on, and hoods to cover him, and many eyes to watch out against any potentially disturbing influences that appear on the horizon. So in that incarnation, Balaram is known as Ananta Shesh, and Krishna is known as Narayan. So that Ananta Shesh, who provides a bed for Krishna, who protects Krishna, who looks after all of Krishna's need. Krishna doesn't have to go to the mattress store and look at various models and hear a sales pitch and get his credit card out. Balaram takes care of that. He provides the most comfortable sleeping surface from his own coils. We're living, breathing, organic. And he protects the Lord with an overhang, with like a canopy for the bed, which has eyes and ears to protect against any potential disturbances. So that Ananta Shesha preceded the Lord. He appeared within the womb of Devaki. This is just the protocol, that first Balaram comes and checks everything out. So he spent some time in the womb. Then he was transferred to the womb of another wife. This is a little technical, a Vasudeva named Rohini, who was about 35 miles away in Vrindavan. So this was perceived by Kamsa as a miscarriage. Kamsa was aware that one of the sons of Devaki would be his death, and to protect himself, he had imprisoned Vasudeva and Devaki. You see, they're here in the prison. When Kamsa came to kill this child, he was told it was a miscarriage, when in fact the child had already been transferred by mystic yogi powers to another womb. So then the scene was set for Krishna to appear. Next Saturday, we'll celebrate the appearance of Lord Krishna in a grand way in the Salt Lake City temple, because he appeared at midnight within the very prison house of Kamsa. We're usually in bed by 9 o'clock, but that's the one night of the year we're lucky to get to bed by 2 o'clock in the morning. Yeah, if you want to be part of the gala celebration, there'll be dance, Indian classical dance, there'll be a drama, there'll be a lot of food and music. Starts at 7 and goes to about 1 o'clock in the morning. So moving on here, Balaram, who is actually God, he meets all the qualifications of God as we would anticipate him to be. He's the servant of Krishna. He's the first expansion of Krishna. He's the original spiritual master. Because he wants to please Krishna, and because Krishna, the omnipotent, original, two-handed form, flute-playing form, personality Godhead, wants relationships. Krishna wants one thing primarily. He wants the fallen souls who some or other left, who fell from the spiritual world, from eternality, bliss, and knowledge, wanting to pursue their own independent, false ego-centered agenda, absented themselves from the spiritual world, appeared in this alternative material world where death, birth, old age, and disease are the prominent features. Krishna feels for his lost children, and he wants you to come back and rejoin him in the eternal spiritual world. Balaram knows that. Balaram is the one who makes the arrangements. Balaram is the one that empowered us to build this temple. Balaram is the one that inspires us to do the Festival of Colors, get thousands of people on the property chanting, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. If there's any interest sparked in you to not necessarily become a devotee, shave your head and put a mark on your forehead and wear a rose, but to pursue the knowledge about God which is available through our culture and thus enrich your own culture, that will be Balaram, who lives within your heart, inspiring you, directing your footsteps, to tend the temple more often, to visit websites, to listen to lectures, to do whatever you can, read books. That will be Balaram, because Balaram wants to please Krishna, and Krishna's only about one thing: relationships. Now the question might arise. Krishna's in the spiritual world, surrounded by millions and millions of liberated devotees, most of whom never even came to this material world in the first place. If you're LDS, you believe that every soul has to come to this material world because there are lessons that you can only learn in a material body. We believe a variation of that. Because you're here, that's true for you, obviously, right? That is why we're here. But it's not true to say that all souls follow the same downward path that we follow. In fact, the information we have is that about 3/4 of the souls who awaken, come to consciousness in the spiritual world, don't leave. They just say, this is good, I'm not leaving. It's only us, for a number around about 1/4 of the manifested souls who leave. You might think, there's all these liberated souls, the ones who never left, and the ones that have been reclaimed throughout the ages by Lord Jesus Christ and others and so on and so forth, have gone back. Why would God even be aware of us? Why would He care? We're not following the program. We're not interested in Him. We don't serve Him other than just to pay lip service. We don't particularly care about Him. Why should He care about us? And why would He miss us? And the answer is that He made every one of you with His own hand, or at least through proxy, through Balaram. He made every one of you unique. He made every one of you individual. He made every one of you in such a way that there's something that you bring to your loving relationship between you and Krishna that no other soul can bring. So even though He's fully engaged, and don't forget, He can expand Himself as many times as He wants in His original form. So even though He's engaged eternally and fruitfully and blissfully with uncountable spirit souls, He's still thinking of Saraswati, Mohammed, and Abraham, and Bill, and George, and Georgina, missing them. As much love as God gets, He wants more. He's a love addict. He wants more. Example was given of a father. He has 5 sons. He gets Saturdays off, so first thing Saturday morning, he's out in the lawn with 3 of his sons, and they're rolling, playing catch, throwing the football around, wrestling, tickling each other, having a great blast. 2 of the sons are still sleepyheads. They're up in the room. So as much as the father's having fun with those 3 sons, and he's fully involved with them, I think you'll agree with me, there's a part of him thinking, I wish those 2 would come down and join the fun. That's God. That's Krishna. As many liberated souls as He is engaging with fully, He's thinking, I still miss you, and you, and you, and you, specifically and individually. Prabhupada came all the way around the world at the age of 7 years old with $7 in his pocket to an unknown country where he didn't know a single person, did so because he was inspired by Balaram. And it was Balaram that provided for him, that brought young people, that grew his movement. And it was Balaram, the reason for which we're all here today, hearing this philosophy and hopefully kindling our spark to increase our walk with God. There are many details, and honestly, I don't want to get into them because most of you are coming for the first time. I don't want to be too technical. I think I'll just leave it there and maybe open up for 1 or 2 questions if you happen to have any.